And hello everyone. Sorry about this late start. I'm Commander Yannick, and I welcome you all to the stream. At the moment, the Frontier servers are down for maintenance. This is the thing about switching my time to an earlier one. It had actually passed my memory that this is the usual scheduled maintenance time for the servers, and it's slap back in the middle of my new streaming window. But they got about 15 minutes before it opens again, so the servers, that is. But I say apologies for that. I will actually try and show you some footage of interest. That's actually from the Apollo 11 expedition of a couple of years ago. Just bear with me just a moment, but as I say, it was an interesting time, and I think everyone pretty much enjoyed themselves by the looks. And what people have told me. Some of the online comments as well. It's all good though. Still. Similar sort of thing to the Yuri Gagarin video, except for I'm not in game, I'm just showing somebody else's. I'll be showing some of the stuff from the Distant Worlds, Distant Radio footage of that time. Which is pretty good. I usually just have my sort of commentary over the top of it, but yeah, that's fine. I give myself to be sort of a pretty good witness to that, really, all things considered. But yeah, here we are. How is everyone? How are you all doing? Just had to ban someone in the chat because of the usual sort of nonsensical spam. Right, let's have a go at this. I haven't actually tried the sort of live changes and mixing of this before. Yeah, it should work, I would think. Oh, that's better. That's more like it. Haha, it actually worked first time. I'm almost surprised. Awesome. Right, but as I say, yeah, this is from the 2 years ago Apollo 11 50th anniversary expedition, which I was the lead organizer of. And this is from, I think, the final meetup of that, and it was, yeah, this is just a fraction of the sort of ships involved with it. But ultimately, I think we had about 670 people actually sign up for this one. And yeah, this particular instance, as I say, is at the final day of the expedition, where we sort of try to make a sort of representation of the Earth-Moon system, because away from the bubble, that is, because unfortunately, Frontier Development, even to this day, have still not opened up the Earth's moon in the Sol system, so we couldn't use that, which was the first choice for obvious reasons. So after that, what's the next best thing to do? Try and find the nearest sort of comparison, I suppose, really. A system that, you know, you have a very moon-like body, and you have an Earth-like body that it orbits around. So, in the end, we did decide on a body of somewhere outside the bubble, and this is the footage that you can see. Yeah, the only downside to it is that about 90% of the planet was actually of a slightly sort of orangey red kind of colour. But other than that, it was great. It's actually nearer to its parent Earth-like world than the Earth, so the moon is to the Earth. So you get kind of even more spectacular views. What's interesting, a lot of people probably don't realise, is that this landing site was actually picked probably only about 2 hours or so, 6 hours actually, before the final meetup. And the only reason, not because of any lack of scouting, quite the opposite. We spent so long trying to scout this final location. It literally took us months of work to actually narrow it down to find suitable landing sites. Not because we couldn't land in places, we absolutely could. We wanted somewhere that actually had a window of daylight on that moon at the right time, because we didn't want the finale to happen in darkness, because it just wouldn't have been as interesting. I mean, I don't mind the odd meetup in darkness, especially with night vision on ships these days, but at the time it was paramount that we actually have the final meetup in daylight, and this body rotates pretty quickly, so the actual window of daylight was actually quite narrow. So we had about 2 hours of daylight, deaf certifiable there, to actually work the expedition's sort of final meetup into. So they were picking a site, had to fit all these various criteria, and ultimately we did actually find a couple of places that did, and this was one of them. But it took until, mere hours before we actually sort of managed to get the final one. This is a bit meta. So the actual distant radio footage I'm looking at is actually looking at a picture of the footage of Apollo 11. So I'm looking at someone else's footage of someone else looking footage. Yeah, it's getting a bit meta indeed, isn't it? But yeah, the whole idea was, as I say, to actually try and have a mass landing where everyone would hover above the surface and then land at the exact moment that Apollo 11 touched down, like 50 years previously in real life. And that was the idea of the finale, and it worked perfectly. I mean, there was an insane amount of work that went on behind the scenes to actually do this, mainly because, say, like, just the selection of the landing site alone was a massive amount of work, and that was particularly... More credit is due to Commander Just Barely than anyone else, because he has a degree in mathematics, a high-level degree in mathematics, and was able to do a lot of these sorts of stellar body calculations more easy than anybody else, and he managed to pick this particular candidate site out of the ones available. I think this instance is actually the one that I was in. You see that the sort of reddish Orca, that's my ship in this. So this was the main instance, I think. So yeah, hence the ones that Distant Radio was in. I think this is Commander Chanksatome's footage. Him being the sort of main DJ stroke representative on Apollo 11 at this point. I think it might have been other people from Distant Radio were involved, but he was the main guy. And yeah, he is a great guy. If you ever listen to his videos or his DJing on Distant Radio. I don't know if he still does it or not. Distant Radio sort of started up again after a period of inactivity, but it was, as the name suggests, started after Distant Worlds 2 expedition to be the sort of in-house radio for that, but it continued afterwards because it was a very successful platform. Yeah, as you can tell from his footage, is like the instance doesn't allow for the smoothest of camera angles, but all things considered, it was actually pretty decent, the footage. So yeah, I think it's quite admirable considering how many ships are in this instance. And it's very difficult to actually maintain these large instances with this many ships these days. I think there's more data that goes through the game, the more difficult it is to actually maintain these peer-to-peer connections. It would be a nice thing as for Elite as a whole if instancing was to be shifted away from the peer-to-peer model and more towards a server-based one. The thing is, a lot of people are sort of willing to pay for this as well. Again, not the core game itself. I think the model that exists about you buy it once and don't have to pay a subscription is fine. But I think if particularly events leaders and organisers would like that, there'd be an option of subscribing. Therefore, you sort of buy, a license to a central server, and then you run your event on the central server, and then obviously the organizer of the event then sorts out the details of everybody else. But that would be a very good way of doing it. I mean, ultimately that's one of the best ways to have events run smoothly in Elite. And I know Frontier do appreciate our efforts on this behalf, on their behalf, as because obviously basically a lot of the event organisers give effectively free content to Frontier and an asset to the community, as I've always argued. For everyone, all event organisers, whether it be racers, explorers like myself, PvP people as well, all the event organisers do deserve credit in that regard for sort of what they do. And I think in the long run Frontier have shown that. But it would be even better, I think, especially with the complexities involved with Odyssey, if they were to go to a server-based instancing model for it, especially for events. Obviously, I am not a developer and I do not work for Frontier, so I can't tell you what their internal sort of processes are about this. But it would be a question I would ask them if I had the opportunity. So yeah, that would definitely be something I'd like to know. Yeah, you can see who's in the local instance on the footage there. I do remember this particular occasion because of the fact we had this sort of narrow window of time that we had to do everything in to be sort of synced up with the anniversary, as it were. It was, yeah, it was quite hectic actually getting everything together. It worked like a dream in the end, and I'm so grateful that it did. Because it could easily have ended up quite differently. But it was a great time, and I think this is obviously an expedition that happened before the invention of fleet carriers in the game. So it was a case of you take your ship on an expedition, and that's the only ship you're going to take on the expedition, because it's the only one that you can, unless you go back to a station somewhere and transfer it out, or you've already got one station somewhere else and say you find one. But yeah, with fleet carriers now it's easier to bring multiple ships on an expedition. Obviously people tend to bring like the core explorer, usually maybe a fighter, maybe a combat ship as well, but it's up to the individual obviously what they do and do not bring. Yeah, nice camera work there. I think most commanders, though, after a time in Elite, do actually get very good at taking still photos. LD videography is a bit of a different thing because it's obviously more dynamic and it's more sort of dependent on your video card, etc., graphics card, and yeah, and your whole system. But yeah, it's I do recommend, if anyone hasn't been on an expedition as at the moment exploring by themselves or interested in starting exploration, it's a very good way to get to know people in the community, and they're great fun. You'll find most explorers are very friendly and accommodating people, and if you don't think you know much, it's like, well, if you can, fly 1,000 light years to unlock an engineer, you've got enough skills to be able to do an expedition. And that's what it comes down to, really. Especially these days, I think, with fleet carriers usually being, most expeditions usually having at least one fleet carrier with them. It tends to be like, if you're not sure, or if you're scared you might miss a week or something, and a meetup, you can always ride the fleet carrier. That's the thing. And it's the best way of doing it, really. It's yeah, it adds flexibility to expeditions, I suppose. But as I say, I'm mostly showing this footage as a sort of an interesting sort of reminder of sort of what's gone before, and Apollo 11 being such a big event, the anniversary itself in real life, and obviously the Elite expedition of the same name. Great times indeed. At the moment, I'm more or less like counting down the sort of time between now and the Frontier servers actually reopening for the day. Yeah, I should probably have foreseen this, shouldn't I? Put my hand up. Yeah. But still, it's I think also with apart from the Apollo 11 anniversary itself, and well, life obviously fires people's imaginations for this expedition particularly. I think because it was also a relatively sort of short expedition, a lot of people who'd never been on one before, it was a very good sort of first time for them, and a sort of quite sort of gentle and straightforward sort of way it wasn't a long expedition at all, so people could commit to it and just casually sort of come along, and a lot of people were very happy because it was their first experience, and a lot of them became serious explorers after that. And some of the ones who didn't, they still had a great time. But this is the way. I mean, not everyone is going to be a hardcore explorer or what have you. A lot of people just will do them from time to time, do the odd event here and there. But yeah, I mean, try to vary it. I mean, I'm known in elite circles as being an explorer looking at the ships mounting each other. It's just hilarious, all the antics that people get up to. And this is pretty mild compared to some of them. But yeah, even though I'm mostly known as an explorer, I do other things. I do, different. Yeah, because you get bored otherwise. You do exactly the same thing all the time. You explore different sort of facets of elite. There's some people who are like, really like super hardcore, have like been out for years from the bubble, have not returned, or that's way hardcore, way beyond anything I've ever done in that regard. I think the longest I've been out was about 7 months, I think, 7 or 8 months probably. Yeah, about 8 months I think it might have been. But something of that order anyway. But yeah, to me, it's not so much an endurance test, though some people do like those. I mean, some of the circumnavigations of the galaxy do take a long time. I mean, year-long circumnavigations are not unknown. But yeah, those are like really seriously like super hardcore exploration sort of expeditions. But yeah, most of the ones I've been a part of have not been that long. Not as long as that anyway. Long, but not as long as like a year-long circumnavigation. Yeah. I don't recommend anyone start with that. I think I know one commander who actually did start with a circumnavigation as his first expedition. It might have actually been Chang Satoma, actually, come to think of it. But yeah, he was a very hardcore explorer for a long time. I think he still is to some degree. But this was an era that he threw himself at the deep end and kept going. And not many people would have done that. Circumnavigation is your first expedition? That's not throwing yourself in the deep end. That's like, I've just learned to swim, I'm going to try and swim the English Channel. Like, that's about 20 miles for those of you who aren't in the sort of Northern Europe. But it's so it's kind of akin to that, really. It's like doing something quite extreme as your first attempt at something. It's like, yeah. But he pulled it off, so, fair play to him. But yeah, this footage I think is before the end of the finale, but I think everyone's just gathering in this. But these sorts of meetups are just part of the routine on expeditions. Okay, this particular meetup was not routine; it was the finale. But yeah, usually the meetups about once a week on most expeditions. Usually in or around waypoints at different systems across the galaxy. People have got the, I think it is the special effect paint job there in a couple of the crates. It's a nice one. I've used that for a couple of times. I think I had that actually on Distant Worlds too. I had a crate Mark II for that one. A little fighter bay, so yeah, that was worthwhile. It's always interesting to see belugas on expeditions because obviously you can see them a mile away and they're very good for sort of visual cues to landing zones. I mean, they are literally sort of so big you really can't miss them, can you? I mean, it makes the Anaconda look relatively puny. I mean, you can see in this foot that the Anaconda on the right and then you've got the beluga on the left. It's like, yeah. Or the Anaconda in the middle even. It's just like, and Anaconda is not a small ship by any stretch of the imagination. Cutter there, which is also a pretty vast ship by any estimate. Yeah, you get pretty good jump range out of those. Not the most manoeuvrable of ships, but yeah, good boost definitely. Not really a surprise though. Yeah, I think with an FSD booster you can turn most things into an exploration ship. It's just what your personal preference is, I suppose, and what you feel comfortable flying over weeks or months out in the black. And that's what it comes down to ultimately, I think. We're talking here about your core exploration. As I was just alluding to, if you're on an expedition these days and there's a fleet carrier around, you can obviously load extra ships into that, but your sort of core exploration ship has to be something that you feel comfortable flying with. Comfortable flying it day after day, week after week, month after month, etc. Yeah, I mean, for example, personally, I'm very much into ships that have very good super cruise handling for that reason. That's why I've generally not flown many Anacondas on expeditions. I have, but just not very often. And for that very reason, because the Anaconda is a very slow turner in Super Cruise. I think this point in the footage is actually when we're going to do the mass landing. And we're basically just going to stand by and waiting for the moment. I think there's a couple other instances as well here, at least. But yeah, I say 600 people signed up for this. Quite a large proportion of those started, and some proportion finished. But you always get this expedition. You always get the sign up, the launch number, and then there is like a gradual downward trend of the number of people who are there week on week. But that's just a natural, really. I think, a lot of expeditions have about 40%, 30-40% of the people who actually make it to the finish, and that's just the way of them. People drop out along the way for all kinds of understandable reasons. Some people get bored. Some people, real life intervenes, which is just totally understandable. Real life should always come first. What we have to do. It's one of those intriguing stats in this sort of pandemic here. I think more people have played, but not necessarily more people have been playing in events, which is, I would have expected more people to be in events. That may change, I suppose, over time, but at least in the sort of initial sort of, first few months of the pandemic, I think that was definitely the case. I'm not sure about the stats after that, to be honest. There've been more people signing up to expeditions in the last few months, I've noticed, though. So, yeah, that's good. As I always encourage in the exploration community for people to, if anyone's willing to do that, then I support them very much. I always support further expeditions and people organising them. It's not an easy job, but it's a fun one. That goes for anyone who's involved in the organising of these things. It's quite funny, people sort of rolling around. This is quite a low gravity world, so it's not surprising. You wouldn't dare do that in a high gravity world. You just crash straight to the ground, especially in an Anaconda with not particularly great thrusters. Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till the mass landing happens in this footage, and then I'll try and revert to the Elite game itself. If I want to get the alpha footage rolling, the actual alpha game rolling, if I can. Yeah, I think this is not too long before the command to descend is given, and the expedition then all descends at the same time. It's the only one I can think of that I'm aware of. I think we're about to do it in this. The expedition actually had a mass landing as opposed to a mass jump. We had those as well. That's just tradition in Elite expeditions, having a mass jump at the end of meetups. I think I remember this, yeah. Command to get airborne and then command to descend. Seems apt thing to do, considering we're celebrating like the first humans to step foot on another world, and therefore landing seems to be like the key part in that, isn't it? There were various scenarios in Apollo 11 itself, the actual real-world flight, that they might not actually have got out of the spacecraft. Just landing there was obviously an achievement, but everything was fine, so they decided to go for the EVA and walk on the moon. But the very fact they'd landed on it was an achievement in itself. 100%. If anyone seen the documentary of Apollo 11 that came out that year, 2 years ago, I would very much recommend it. It's the sort of a cinematic one that has all the NASA archive footage and all from the different TV organisations at the time, basically all the best stuff, and it's like, most of it's like film quality. It's quite amazing, and obviously a lot of it's been digitally restored, but it's just absolutely phenomenal. And I saw it at the time on in a cinema screen, and it was just brilliant. It was beyond words. Actually, there was at the end of it, there was literally people sort of weeping in the cinema. It was quite fantastic. I would definitely recommend it if you ever get a chance to see it. I think it's probably on Amazon Prime at the moment. It was last time I looked. If you've got that, if not, it's well worth buying. I think it's about like £7 or £8 on Google Play as well. So, but yeah, definitely worth seeing. Because it's literally, there's not actually like a narrator or anything, it's just the footage of all the NASA people and talking. So it's like, it's a self-narrating documentary, in a way. I'm not really sure I've seen many of those. It's quite weird, really. But in a good way weird. Not a bad way. Just looking at my follower count, 6 hours to go. Yeah, maybe I was a little bit over-optimistic with... the deadline I set myself for that. You've got to laugh, really. Still. Better to have goals than not to. That's a good way to organise oneself. It always seems longer watching this. It didn't seem very long. Maybe we weren't actually hanging around for that long in mid-air. It just seems longer because the timing of it on this footage. Yeah. The sort of minutiae of the ships, when you have such detail that Frontier has put into the ship models, you know, when you've got like the vents of the ships sort of moving around as well and glowing. It's quite extraordinary. You can see it easier when a mass jump when everyone's sort of close together. You can see a little bit when this sort of situation as well. But yeah, it's fantastic. It really is. I mean, just having lots of players together in the same place is always great fun. And the more the merrier, really, in these situations. I mean, in this case, the instant stability is remarkably good. You can never predict it, though, that's the thing. I mean, I say I'm crossing my fingers like most people are, that Odyssey will actually bring better instancing. I have no idea how it'll work by the actual final release, but... yeah, it's something that I think most people who've been involved in eventing at all in Elite were definitely hoping for, still do hope for. Like stable instancing for large events. And I mean, considering like Elite's been out for, you know, what was it, 6 years now, basically? Yeah, it's obviously like the sort of like code level rewrite is coming around now, or code refresh I should say, is coming around because of Odyssey. Even the Horizon stuff is, I think there's going to be some kind of code refresh for that. Not in the stuff that you can access, but in the actual code software level, deep software level. But that's all you can ever do, is that, you know, let developers know. I'm sure they're aware by now. I mean, they must be. So a lot of these have been working for years on Elite, so yeah, it must be aware of that. Oh, someone's firing off a laser. Yeah. You see, at this point, yeah, I think I'm in the instance in this one, but I think my focus is mostly sort of looking. I think I'm doing a speech, and then there's the timer that's coming up on this. Because this is the thing, I think I started the final address a certain number of seconds before the final landing would have been, like 50 years previously. So it was also synced up around that. And then there's like a few seconds delay, and then I give the command to descend, which is then relayed to different sort of wing leaders and also the streamers as well, because of the streamers, a lot of people watching them as well who are engaged. So there's a slight few seconds like delaying some cases where people have heard the instruction later than others. But you're bound to get that though, and this is like a massive expedition. I mean, so big. I think only Distant Worlds 1 and 2 are actually bigger in the history of Elite. So, I mean, I'm very proud to have been a part of it all. Okay, I dreamt it up, so without me it would never happen, but, you know. But it's something that is one of those things that it was always surprised me slightly that at the time the Frontier didn't really do anything to commemorate Apollo 11's anniversary within Elite itself, or even within Galnet. I always thought there was going to be at least like a Galnet piece or something, even if there was no like in-game event. But I think it surprised a lot of people actually, that Frontier didn't have any like, you know, celebration at all, even if it was just a nominal sort of, you know, Galnet article saying that, you know, this had happened. Here it goes. Here's the descent, and everyone's coming down. Yeah. But that's the thing. It's in some ways, I think some people described the Frontier at the time not actually commemorating Apollo 11. Forget the expedition we're talking about, just purely the event itself. In real life, the Apollo 11 anniversary. It's a bit like, you know, let's say EA when they're having sort of some of the sports franchises, let's say football, not having a sort of World Cup celebration or a World Cup game. It's like, that would be deeply strange if it happened, and no one really understood why Frontier, having, you know, space games, would not actually do this. And it's like, oh, that doesn't make any sense, you know. Why would you not do it? Even if it was only like, yeah, a fairly basic sort of commemoration or something. But yeah, I think their attitude has actually improved since in this regard. I mean, as most people know, like Frontier, and this is not me being critical of Frontier overall here, this is just like saying what the history has been. You know, they've gone through sort of phases of engaging and then sort of, you know, not disengaging with the community, but sort of being much more sort of distant and not communicating as much. There's been periods of time when very little has been said at all and just been silence, and people just assume that the game's gone into maintenance mode because of it. I mean, those things aren't ideal, and it's not good PR really to have complete silence, especially if you do have future plans, which they did. They were developing Odyssey in the background, but they didn't say anything to anybody. And it's like, but even if you don't want to reveal that secret, there are other ways of keeping the community engaged. But as I say, this was an unfortunate period of time where things were very quiet amongst Frontier sort of public relations people. But to be fair, they things did improve, and I think they did actually do a piece during the I think it was the anniversary of, what was it, of Frontier Developments itself, an anniversary stream, that they actually did mention things like Distant Worlds, Apollo 11, Dove Enigma, and a few other sort of big expeditions, and events generally. So that was good. I mean, it showed that some of the community managers had actually been paying attention all this time. But yeah, but as I think I say, it's not a critique of any of them individually or anything, by no means, or a sort of critique of Frontier in the long term. But obviously this, they say the things have waxed and waned over time. But that's just the way that it is. Still, right, I will see if I can return to playing the Elite Alpha. Yeah, I think I'll just keep the footage on for a little bit longer for now. Right, I'll try and see if the alpha will run, because earlier I think they shut down both the servers for the alpha and the main game. Main game is sort of, let's say, it's regularly scheduled maintenance, which is understandable. That's usually the time that also scheduled maintenance is when Power Play actually updates, I think, every week. Yeah, I think this is funny that my ship than this just touches down then, because I've been sort of busy doing other things elsewhere in admin and what have you. But yeah, it's kind of funny. That asp looks like it's slightly out of control there, but it isn't probably. long as you've got a good enough shield to keep you safe, it should be fine. Yeah, it's nice. I think I will say, actually, in retrospect, from this period, as I was saying about the Frontier anniversary stream, actually, shout out to Paige Harvey, who was the community manager behind a lot of the coverage of those expeditions I've just been talking about. Yeah, I think Paige is now a streamer under the name Arthremis, so no, she's worth checking out. Yeah, she did a good job, I think, as a community manager, and she is a decent streamer as well. She doesn't play Elite that much, I don't think, these days, but it's like a variety streaming. But still, yeah, I do like her streams. I think they're very worth checking out. Someone's put on the Apollo 11 landing footage. Haha, nice, cool. Yeah, it's a bit meta, isn't it? People are starting to gain altitude. I think this is the point where people are leaving to start the mass jump, actually, if I recall correctly. They say traditionally most exploration meets usually end up with a mass jump. And those are always spectacular. And with those, they can get very big as well. It's always easier to instance in space than it is on the planet. That's just the way that it works. So you can usually stuff more ships into a space instance than a planetary one and keep it stable. Even then, there's no guarantees. Yeah. Okay, I think I might actually be able to run the alpha now. So yeah, I'll stop this. I will go to a brief break and then return to some alpha fun. See you in a minute. And welcome back. Hello to anyone who has just joined me. I am Commander Yannick, and we are here in Elite Dangerous, the Odyssey Alpha Test. As advertised, this is Odyssey Test Piloting. Oh, hello Commander Bad Cops, how's it going? Ah, and there's somebody nearby. What do they want? No, they just disappeared. But anyway, a little gas giant over there. Yeah, this is a planet. I'll just go to the system map, actually be easier to show than to give an in-depth description. The visual will work better. Right, this is the small moon that we are on. Silicate vapor geysers. Low gravity, 0.17 G. Yeah, I think I landed here in the game. It was dark, but there's also a nearby structure which seems to have disappeared. Maybe it was procedurally generated, but not a permanent one within the game. Still, I will look for other things on this world, potentially silicate vapor geysers, etc. I'm going to have to climb up to Super Cruise, I think. Sounds like a car driving away, doesn't it, to some degree? Get out of the mass lock before I do anything else. Bingo. How's it going out there, everyone? What are you up to? Apart from watching the stream, I mean. Whatever the case may be, I hope you're having a good day wherever you may be in the world. No matter what you're doing. Climbing up above the moon. Enough clearance. Out of the exclusion zone. Yeah, the you can see on the right there of the scanner, the bottom right. There's still the mass there of that's the reddish, ghostly reddish mass of the moon that we've just left. And it's not as apparent as it would normally be in Horizons, but I think that's on purpose. It's just the way that a lot of things, the lighting is a lot less strong and it's a lot more subtle in Odyssey than it is in Horizons. Okay, right. See what there is on the surface according to the sensors. Impact site, a crash site, various threat levels. Okay. So silicate vapor geysers here. I'm pretty sure I scanned the planet already, but I could do that again and see what happens, but yeah. What else is there in this system? Is a damn good question. What other worlds are there out here? What details will they tell us? Volcanism, iron magma. Yeah, some of these look very similar. No volcanism on that one. Yeah. Iron magma again. No volcanism on that one. There's the station. That's where we are now. Silicate magma. Yeah, I usually find those as geosites, but I don't think I've seen any so far, unless they're just not scannable from orbit in the same way. Which I thought they would have been. Again, I don't know every in and out of Odyssey yet. Yeah. See, these are icier. Then again, iron magma. It's not too. Iron magma or silicate vapor. Which one? Yeah. I'll try and scan this this world again, actually, to see. I think I may have moved too far away from it at this time. It doesn't really matter that much. It's not. I don't have to land there. Yeah, I've moved away from it somewhat. Maybe I'll move to another system, actually. I fancy exploring somewhere else. Okay. Yeah, that's the central system in this sort of bubble. I think as a later the phase 3 it's going to be of the alpha test. Maybe extending the bubble to 50 light years. Is it today or another day they're going to do that? Route unavailable, yeah. I don't think it is the 50 light year bubble, yeah. Because otherwise that one would have been jumpable. Okay, let's try somewhere else. Okay. I don't know if I've been here or not. Agricultural. Maybe. Yeah, let's go there. I know nothing about this system otherwise, I think. Yeah. Okay, let's go there. Always room for new discoveries. I'm always open for new discoveries. To the mysterious realms of witch space. It looks a bit more witchy now actually than it used to. I will say that. That's definitely true. The space of the witches. Allegedly. Okay. Do some proper scanning of the system. It's a heavily populated system anyway, so I'm gonna just go to the standard system view to see what's what. I might visit one of these stations to see if the interiors have improved at all. I mean, they have improved a bit, but how it works on my system, I mean. Or shall I land on this icy-looking body? I think I'll go for the adventure to start with, actually. I think I'll go here. Ooh, it's a penal colony. Mrs. What else do we have here? This installation. Synthetic silo. What else is there upon this somewhat white-looking world? Anemic-looking world? No volcanism. I see. Do I see? Yeah, it's actually got an atmosphere. So yeah, actually that looks like a good place to visit. Let me go there then. Yeah, the thin atmospheric worlds are definitely worth a visit. I think they always seem to have purple sky so far. I think that's going to be the case across the board, but we don't really know beyond this sort of early alpha release. Yes, indeed. So look at the skybox in this. See what we can see. This is the thing I said, the lighting definitely has changed so that the universe seems of Odyssey's a little bit darker than that of Horizons. Some of them are subtle differences. Some of them are quite major. I mean, the cockpit is not different in its design, but it's subtly lit differently. Especially the scanner seems to be a bit more sort of transparent. But other than that, the cockpit differences are kind of quite minor. But as I say, this is not the end of the alpha. They've still got phases 3 and 4 to complete. Actually, is phase 3 supposed to begin today, or is that another day? I'm trying to remember. Does anyone in the chat know? I've been reading most of the Frontier sort of releases and news and what have you. I just can't recall at the moment. Right, let's do some gravity braking, ladies, gentlemen, and Thargoids. Nice bit of gravity braking there. I didn't go too close to those bodies, but close enough to definitely be slowed down. Okay. Do the usual explorers thing. And have a good old probe. Some bizarre reason I'm reminded of a car called the Ford Probe, which was not a good car at all. Anyone remembers that? No one really bought one, I think, so it's actually, there's no point in trying to scan it because the thing's already appeared on the sensors anyway. I'm just falling into Explorer mode there for a second. But, yeah. Okay, I could go to any number of these places. Yeah, let's go to one of these surface sites. I'd rather not go to one that's actually in darkness, though, if I can avoid it. Let's orbit around and see what's what. Looks a bit more like our moon, doesn't it? It's not quite as white as it appeared on the system map. More sorts of greyish white, really. Yeah. Let's pick up some speed. It looks like it might have a higher gravity, this one. The world seems somewhat larger. Yeah, on this machine, the space part of the game seems to work pretty well. But again, it's one of the least changed aspects of it compared to Horizons, that is. So you can see the atmosphere there, just inside of the yellow line. It's very thin. Okay. Of these surface sites, which is the nearest within this installation? Hope that's in daylight. I mean, it's just nicer if I can see what's going on without having to, resort to use. Oh, maybe it is actually in daylight. But yeah, resort to using night vision. It's all right, but only if I have to. Yeah, that's in daylight, so that's good. Hey, level none, how's it going? And welcome to anyone else who's joining the stream. I am Commander Yannick, and we're going to just do an atmospheric entry. And how many years I've been waiting to actually say things like that within the Elite universe. A long time is the answer. A very long time. Yeah, it would be nice if we had like some sparks or plasma for atmospheric entry, but I know it's only a sort of very light atmosphere. Okay, we're about to touch the outer edges of the atmosphere. Yeah, there's a couple of interesting looking craters around here. I do like the increased sort of detail and sort of, you know, subtle differences on the various different landable worlds, whether they have atmospheres or not, the new terrain modelling. It's being a bit slow today. Aha. Glide engaged. Cool. What missions are you playing at the moment, Level None? I must admit, I only had one curry mission that I tried, and it didn't even recognize it. I mean, the place I was trying to deliver it to didn't even recognize there was a mission. But as you say, it's up to these things being fixed. Okay, can I actually land at this installation? Maybe. Ah, so you tried an assassin's mission. Yeah. Was this assassination like, okay, don't land at the pads. Okay, I won't then. Yeah. I'll land somewhere nearby, not necessarily there, but maybe over near the crater. The frame rate's just gone a bit weird, but... Yeah. So your assassination mission, was that like a close quarter one, or could you actually get them shot at from like a fairly decent distance? Because I've not really tried most of the sort of, you know, close quarter weapons. It's interesting, isn't it, the whole sort of first-person shooter elements of this, because, you know, it's... I think a lot of people do like it. I mean, I find it is like most people seem to like it more than dislike it. And there's some obviously Elite fans who are not that bothered by like first-person shooter elements of it. I mean, as I said before, it's like I do like those kind of games. I haven't played them for a while, but so I am a little bit rusty. But I will in the near future, particularly this one. Yeah, let's see if the auto land engages properly. It usually has not valid area. So you can't actually land too near a base. Let's see if I can fly further away, and how far do I have to leave before it actually lets me land. Let's see if I clear to like 5 kilometers. Will I be able to land then? Yeah, these I will try some of the missions are auto landing engaged. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'll try some of the more on foot missions in the future, or at least more on foot exploration. At the moment, for now, I'm going to stick to the spacecraft, and I think I'll do more exploration through the station. As I say that, I think it might be just the lack of optimization for my kind of system, of my kind of PC, but the station or on foot stuff has not actually been that effective. I mean, if I'm on a planet with just myself in the spacesuit, it's fine. But if I'm on a station, it's quite painfully slow. Though to be fair, I've not actually tried it since the last download. because there was one yesterday. Update, I mean. So yeah, I will probably try a station a little bit later in this stream. But I'm gonna see if I can try the SRV out. So I've not done that yet in this one, because obviously, for those of you who haven't tried this, or haven't got the alpha, the SRV has altered characteristics, shall we say. I think they've actually gone from quite different handling characteristics back to more of like Horizons type behaviour, but it's still a little bit different. I've not actually tried it yet, so this was the first time for this within the Odyssey alpha. I've walked around on foot. I have done that already. But not anywhere near people. Just at the crash site. Thing is, now we've got a lot more options. Yeah, you can move around on foot. You can take your SRV out. If you've got a fighter bay, you can use that as well. Thank you for warning me about the low gravity, computer. Right, okay. Now, the frame rate is not the best, but it's not the worst either. I don't know how it looks on the stream, but it's somewhat worse than it is in the ship. I don't know what FPS that might be. Maybe about 10 frames a second or something. It's not the best, but it'll do for now. Now, my initial impressions. I said the actual SRV handling model doesn't seem to have changed radically. It's a little bit better in terms of grip, slightly. It doesn't have that sort of, kick the SRV does when you can like skew it sideways or spin it quite easily. Interesting. Yeah. The Level None saying they're a friend who had a hard time streaming this as well. I think this is the thing about something as new as Odyssey is saying, because obviously they've redone the code base as well for even the Horizons type stuff in the game. So a lot of things are going to be new, and a lot of things are going to be sort of still unoptimized. I think at the moment what I'm seeing is like it's unoptimized. At least I can get it to run. I mean, I'm running on a sort of okay-ish laptop with a reasonable graphics card. It's not like cutting edge, but it'll do, for this kind of stuff. The SRV model, the SRV seems slightly grippier than it was before. It's not as unpredictable. Obviously, the graphics, I will say that the lighting is a lot more complicated, and the sort of animation, the way the light reflects off snow, that's actually a lot more realistic now. See if I can try and spin this. No, it doesn't spin very easily, especially on a icy, snowy surface. A normal SRV in Horizons would probably be like spinning like mad about now. It can skid a bit, but it's not really spinning. Though I've seen other people who've been playing the alpha also say something on the effect of, the SRV is more grippy, but there's a lot more difficult terrain as well on average. So, I mean, that's a fair point. If the terrain is going to be more difficult, then we're going to need that. But it would be good if there was like different modes, like you had like a Horizons type mode with like assist off, and then you had a more grippy mode you put assist on, something like that. That would be a very good way of going about things. Going to see how it grips this hill up here. Yeah, it's going across this a lot easier than it would have done in Horizons. And now it's got stuck actually slightly. I spoke too soon. Oh, what do we have here? There's somebody flying above us. Or to the side. I'll keep going across this section here. It's like a hill, really. It's not a mountain, is it? It's just a hill. I've not actually seen any full-on, like, big mountain ranges in the game. I've just seen kind of large hills, but I haven't actually located a full-on mountain range yet. I don't know if anyone else has in the chat, but yeah, I would like to do some proper mountain climbing to see how it works with that. Because obviously, anyone who's gone around exploring in Elite is going to do mountain climbing at some point, and it's going to be interesting. Okay. Yeah, the terrain is definitely more varied, more complicated, much more varied and in detail as well than Horizons. Right, okay, yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, the SRV definitely conquers that kind of uneven terrain more easily than the Horizons version did. So it's like an SRV upgrade in a way, if you want to think about it in universe terms. Okay, I'm going to use the base as a point of reference. The installation, yeah. I think I want to drive away from it. I could actually, maybe I'll go there on foot, or on SRV as it were. Actually, I'm going to do that to see what happens. It'll probably alert the base or something, but we're here to test these things. I'm going to try and go across flat terrain to get there and see what happens. Hang said he's probably spotted me already in that Fer-de-Lance or whatever it was. So yeah, I will keep on. The atmosphere is interesting, definitely, because just seeing Elite with an atmosphere is just such a beautiful thing. I mean, the atmosphere itself is very nice. It's very cool. And the tracks are also more detailed, I think. The tracks of the SRV. Yeah, I'm liking this. The only complaint I have at this moment is the frame rate is a little bit lagging, but it's not terminally bad. But say optimization is going to be the name of the game going forwards. Yes, that sort of purple quality to the sky. I don't know what the gases involved would be. I hadn't actually looked at the atmospheric composition for this world. Maybe I'll check in a second. Ooh, this is interesting. Now, this is real exploration stuff. I have actually seen other people take pictures of these. I've not seen them in person yet. In-game. Let's scan one of these and see what it says. They're sort of... It's a weird sort of not two-dimensional tree, but almost like a two-dimensional tree. Turn the way the scanner. Listen to the sound of the scanner. I don't think it's actually... Is it picking up the tree or not? It's not anything... I think it's just the scanner sound is slightly different to before. It's not radically different, but it's a little bit different. Okay, what are these things called? Oh, it doesn't seem to have a name for it. Okay, interesting. So the modules are all online and doing what they should be. Yeah, it looks fine. Ah, I did wonder what was going on. Yeah, that's fine. Dual repeater. Data link scanner. Composition scanner. Okay, I'll try that then. Huh. Oh, apparently I'm not supposed to shoot near a base. Well, lucky me. Yeah. I'm just trying to find my scanner thing. I just Yeah, and accidentally triggered the gun. Ah, they're so touchy, these people. You fire a weapon like 4 kilometers away for an installation, and they act like you've just killed somebody. Okay, they haven't actually done that, but... Right. So long since I actually tried to scan anything in SRV. That's not true, actually. I scanned them the other day. Interesting. It's an unusual looking place, isn't it? I think. Oh, stop telling me off for shooting my gun nowhere near a person. They're so rude, these people. For science, of course. I don't know if it'll do anything to these or not. I have no idea. Oh god, they're so touchy, aren't they? Oh dearie me. They'll probably end up attacking me in a moment, won't they? Or something silly. I think you probably need one of those new Artemis suits. I think that's the one with the biological scanner in to actually get any scan off these. Probably, anyway. So I can't actually see them on the sensors here. So I'm assuming you can only see them if you you had the biological sensors on the suit. Oh, they fined me 5,000 for that, just because I was shooting up a little bit. Like, really? You're gonna get that sensitive about it? Naughty, naughty. Actually, maybe I'll ignore the settlement and just not bother, because I'm gonna have to pay that off at a station anyway. Maybe I should just go to the system. Having said that, look to the sky and the way that the sun sort of illuminates the atmosphere. That's very nice, and it's very very realistic, I think. You see these pictures not just on our own world on Earth, but of Mars. And you see like a very similar sort of effect when you see the Martian sky. Obviously it's a different colour. It's a sort of, you know, kind of orangey pink kind of colour, you want to call it that. But you've seen the pictures, no doubt. Actually, I'm going to avoid that base. I'm going to go to another place to probably pay off that fine. I was going to go to the base, but I just can't be bothered now with that kind of nonsense. I mean, the one here on the world, one maybe an orbital station I'll go to, I think, to pay off the fine. Yeah, this is a good test, I think, for the SRV on uneven ground. He says as he gets stuck. Oh dear. Yeah, I'm deliberately not using the thruster at the moment to fly, so I'm just seeing how it copes with the terrain. I might do some of that in a little bit, but the gravity here is not high, but it's higher than it is on a lot of the airless worlds we find ourselves in. It's 0.2 G, so it's not high, but it's not low either. Well, it's low-ish, I suppose. Nice. Yeah, I'll go back to my own ship. They're still updating me constantly about the no-fire zone. I mean, seriously. Yeah, I know you don't like it. I got that, you know. Oh well, hey ho. Yeah, this has been an interesting place. I think I might return here again. This particular world. You say it is landable and it has an atmosphere, but yeah, I'm looking out for a mountain at the moment. That's my next sort of major test, apart from to see how the base has improved at all. I say at the moment, I have not spent much time on bases at all. I prefer to fly around in spacecraft as I want to do. I mean, an explorer, you can't blame me, can you? My job's not to hang around bars all day long. That can be fun, but I prefer to fly the universe, doing my thing. Interesting, the controls have evolved in a different way as well. Yeah. It's intriguing. Okay, board. I think there's some kind of bug there. They're constantly repeating about the fire. Yeah, I shot off a few rounds, but didn't shoot off that many, you know. Oh well. Yeah, I think I'll try and find an orbital station and see what gives there. Okay. Yeah, the frame rate, fingers crossed, should be back to something approaching normal. I don't think they're going to shoot at me or not, but I'm going to fly low over the base and see what happens. Not too fast, but I don't think that they'll probably shoot at me or something, knowing these people. Not so far, though. Okay. They don't seem to care. I'm gonna boost out of here anyway. And do my own fine. Time we left this world today. Yes, indeed. Yeah, the frame rate is generally much better for the spacecraft. Obviously, in space itself, away from the planetary surface, it's the smoothest, highest frame rate. Planetary surfaces, it's not great, but it's okay. By the standards of my machine, I mean, generally speaking, a lot of people have got a lot better graphics cards than I have. But yeah, it's but yeah, in the SRV, it wasn't that good. Though it did give me a good chance to look at the sort of quality of the terrain. Okay, system map. Ahoy. Now let's visit one of these two stations over here. Yeah, let's visit this one. Ah, there. Talking about ahoy. There's another commander over there. Looks like a little sort of star or nebula, but then it's flashing around, and you can see in the HUD. There he is. Sheep, essentially. Them. I have no idea. Gold Gang. Well, that's nice. I don't really care, actually. But Gold Gang, eh? I suppose he's wanted, so it makes sense being a gang member. I wonder if that's going to be a thing as well, you know, more sophisticated criminal behaviour and, you know, space gangs of pirates roaming, organised gangs. That would be a definite interesting change. Yeah, it's the system is supposed to be like several billion people. I'm going to engage Super Cruise Assist because I can't be bothered. No, I just want to do it so I can look up other things. This is part of the reason when you're in the bubble, it's sometimes a good idea to use Super Cruise Assist. Say out in the black, you'd never use it normally, apart from planetary orbit possibly. So you can check out what else is there in the system. So yeah, these other atmospheric worlds, not landables though, they're like Mars type high metal content worlds. Let's click on one randomly to see what characteristics it has. High pressure though, 1G and 328 atmospheres of pressure on the surface. And that's quite a lot. So look at magma, volcanism, atmosphere, methane, nitrogen, etc. The world I'm heading to is methane, nitrogen. Oh, sorry, that one is delayed reaction. Yeah, they say it looks like an Earth-like world, so it actually is. Cool. Yeah, the more you look at the lighting changes, it's one of those things that I know people have mentioned it, but not as much I would have thought they did. I think a lot of because of the first-person shooter stuff, understandably a lot of people are quite engrossed in that right now because it's the biggest sort of gameplay change. But obviously, sort of with my explorer's hat on, particularly in this film, we spent a lot of time sort of flying around in the black. It's the more sort of I tend to like go to the astronomical sort of bodies and see the differences between one thing and the other. But the lighting changes are definitely, the more I look at it, the more I notice differences. Most of them are fairly subtle. I mean, some of them are fairly blatant. It's in terms of the lighting of a star or of an FSD nearby. FSD drive of a ship illuminating it is much less bright than it used to be. Because it used to be as bright, if not brighter than the actual star sometimes, which is kind of ludicrous if you think about it. Brighter than the star? Really? But yeah, now it's a bit more subtle. You still see them a long way off, but maybe not as blatantly obvious. That's a nice little eclipse there against that planetary atmosphere. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? Welcome to anyone who's just joined the stream. I'm Commander Yannick. And this is Odyssey Alpha Test Piloting, as I like to call it. Seriously though, every time there's like, a beta or alpha test in Elite, I tend to refer to it as test piloting because it is. I mean, sometimes there are new ships to test pilot or new features, but it's all good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pay off my fine and then walk around for a bit inside the station. The frame rate dropped all of a sudden. I'm just hoping that it isn't just a feature that station's going to be more problematic. Future. Say like a lot of this is, I'm sure, down to lack of optimization. We will see, though. Time will tell. My overall impression so far of, Odyssey is it's more favourable than not. Obviously, say it is. I'm very much aware it's a work in progress, and I treat it as such. But in terms of like new features, the FPS part of it, I probably will end up playing the least. I'll have a go at it for fun. But in terms of like as a sort of interesting sub game, or maybe you might be able to get some interesting plans or some feature that way that you might not be able to otherwise. But as an explorer, there are a lot of the FPS related stuff is I wouldn't probably bother with it normally. But I will in this case. But I say there are other sort of better FPS games out there, dedicated ones. I think some people have said so far, it's like, which is an observation I also agree with, is in the sort of FPS combat, particularly, why are the controls so unnecessarily complicated to do quite simple things? Like, for example, why are there like several different controls for grenades throwing? Like, wouldn't it be a good idea to have like one button and then maybe you hold it down for longer to do a different kind of throw? Like, very simple sorts of logic in that regard, rather than having yet another button to memorize. You have to do that because obviously, flying the spacecraft has got multitude of controls. I know that, that's fair enough, but you'd have thought walking around in a spacesuit would have been a little bit more, especially by this point in history, like 1,000 years into the future. Yeah, the suit's pretty much autonomous, just automatically regulates itself. You wouldn't, therefore, the actions of a person. I know there's various things, but yeah, there does seem to be like a ridiculous amount of control because it seems to have more controls than most actual FPS games, though. Dedicated FPS games, so kind of weird, but maybe that will change. I don't know. Authority contact. I think I will contact the authorities. Yes, I will. The Cobra Mark III is a good choice for a sort of good all-round ship to test the game in because it's got a good boost, it's got a certain amount of cargo capacity, it's like known as an all-rounder, and it's obviously the classic elite ship from like 1984 onwards, basically. This is the thing is, I'm not that old. I was not playing Elite when it first came out, but just imagination. I played other versions of Elite before Elite Dangerous came out. That is true. Okay. No intel packages. No connect discoveries. Pay off the fines. Paid off the fines. Hand yourself in. Interesting. I don't hand myself in, of course, I've done nothing wrong, but yes. Okay. I will now go on foot. Disembark. Please. Okay. Goes into the hangar. Fair play. I'm exiting the cockpit now. Into the station. It's taking a while to load this bit, isn't it? But say things like this, I think, will become smoother as the development progresses. There has been talk, obviously, recently, of because of the state of the game is sort of somewhat raw in places, that they might actually have to put back the release of Odyssey proper. Because it would be, I think, a mistake to actually release it if it ends up being so bugged in the final version. I mean, it's always best to put something off, even if it is for like a month or two, and solve bug problems, than it is to release something that's bugged. I mean, in any software, I think that's the case, but still, we shall see. You never know; things may change radically different ways. But okay, I don't want to board the ship. I want to move away. So okay, onward. This is the thing. I've walked around on these relatively little, so I'm trying to remember what the controls are that I've. Yeah, this is the hangar. So yeah, it does seem to have improved slightly the frame rate. It's not great still, but it has improved a little bit. Okay, so where am I supposed to go? Not here, evidently. Over there. Okay. Not there either. Look at the details in this. Yeah, it's like a sort of fair-sized aircraft, really. The scale of the Cobra 3. Size of a Vulcan, maybe? I don't know. Maybe just a wedge shape, I suppose. Delta Wing Vulcan bomber, for those of you who aren't sure what I'm talking about. They're British aircraft made in the 1950s and 60s. Like one of the first major sort of Delta Wing bombers in the world. I think it might actually be the only Delta Wing bomber in history to have ever actually seen combat in the Falklands War. At the time, the longest bombing raids in history before some B-52s in the Gulf War, the first Gulf War, actually broke that record. But it's very interesting, so all of that. Okay. Go to concourse. Absolutely, I do want to go to the concourse. Okay, let's go. Just think of turbo lifts in Star Trek, of course, and also the lifts in Red Dwarf, especially the express lift, where you could put your record your last will and testament, because the whole lift was considered to be kind of dodgy. Okay, yeah, this is a bit better in terms of the graphics, frame rate, etc., detail, since I was last in the station. So it's not great, but it's definitely an improvement. The frame rate is the biggest problem. I mean, the detail, the graphics are a bit, something slightly odd about them. I think it's just the relative lack of detail for a modern game. I think I see it's the detail level was akin to I don't know, maybe Quake 2 or something, which is surprising. Quake 2 came out 20 years ago. I know this is only medium graphic settings, but even so, you know. Okay, let's see what's up here. I'm not that interested in interacting with anyone at the moment within this station, so I'm going to see what happens. I'm more at the moment just looking at for graphics and the sort of levels of sophistication thereof. Yeah, this is not the best. The frame rate's quite bad at the moment. The detail's not great, but you imagine thinking, well, if it's not great now, Yannick, how what was it like before when you tried it? It's well, not good is the answer. Not good at all, but yeah, this didn't need massive amount more optimization. The space one's not so much, but yeah, this station stuff is I don't get why it's so slow. It's I say before, the graphics aren't actually that detailed, on at least under medium level. This isn't low either. This is medium. This isn't the lowest level of detail. I think, so why is it like got detail level that would have been appropriate in a sort of cutting edge game of about 15 to 20 years previously? Maybe I'm being slightly scathing in that regard. Maybe the time factor, but it's approximately that long. At least 10 years ago, anyway. I'm not going to take an Apex shuttle anywhere. Not yet, anyway. Maybe I will in the future. Yeah, I'll go to Pioneer Supply and see if I can find this new suit that people have been talking about. Okay. I think it's Pioneer Supplies, isn't it? Yeah, the spacesuit's at the back. Let's have a look. Some things don't change. All the shops look very similar to this even now. Ah, here we are. Got some guns. Got a nice spacesuit. Okay, let's see if we can interact with this. Actually, we can't. It's just a showroom, isn't it? Some things never change. Okay, what is this supposed to be? Doesn't say what it is. Just says it's a Remlock suit. Okay, med kits. Can I interact with these? Or do I have to go to the counter? As I said before, it's like I didn't hear that much interaction previously because I couldn't get this bit to work very well, if at all. It's working better now, but say it's still not fantastic. Hopefully the gameplay bit will work anyway. Okay, let's talk to this person behind the counter. See what the customer service standards are like in the 34th century. I haven't actually started saying anything yet. Okay, let's talk. Come on. Looking for consumables. Actually, I'm not. I'm looking for a new spacesuit, but let's have a look. Oh, I see. That's how you access Pioneer Supplies. Okay. Purchase suits. I'll purchase suits to start with. I'll see what's going on. Maverick suit. The Dominator suit. Maverick suit designed for those who want to keep their options open. So it's like a general suit then? General round suit, possibly? Art cutter for hard to reach components. So we can't do space EVAs at the moment, but I suppose that's probably a future development. Obviously we do planetary EVAs. I'm going to assume, having not looked at this before, that the Dominator suit is a combat one, based on the name. Yeah, I thought so. It looks like a... It is, in fact, a combat suit. Okay. All manufacturers, all grades. Oh, I see. Manticore makes that one. Okay. Back. Fair enough. I didn't intend to back out of that whole thing. Huh. Okay. I don't want to sell the suit. Actually, upgrade. Maybe I can upgrade my suit. Flight suit. Okay. That's what it's called, just flight suit. The standard version. Okay. Let's click on that. Okay, I can't do anything to that. Fair enough. So, with these other suits, what can I do with them? I'll do weapons in a bit. Maverick suit, yeah. Greater carrying capacity. Okay, I'll click on that because I said that I'm not too bothered about actual combat. What's the difference between that and the other? The Dominator. I see the shield is stronger for the Dominator, and it's heavier as well. Actually, it's not so heavy, so I'm looking at the wrong column. Shield health, relatively. Shield regeneration rate, okay. Pick the Maverick suit. How much have I got? Buy suit, okay. Yeah, confirm. Do I sell my existing suit then? Or do a part exchange it for something else? And these are all good questions. So do I sell the flight suit? What do I get for it if I do? Cannot sell, okay. Fine. No worries. Let's have a look at the weapons that are available. I mean, so far, I obviously have looked at people's videos of playing FPS, but I've not paid like detailed attention to that part of it because I wanted to sort of explore it for myself. You know, it's one of those things, sometimes you can have everything sort of handed to you on a plate in terms of knowledge. I mean, if there's something specific I needed to do urgently, then I would have done that, but it's, in many ways, it's like interesting to like, if you obviously get stuck and yeah, you want some knowledge to help you get further, then that's fair enough. But I think I prefer to like have, with anything that I play, I prefer to have some kind of challenge to it. I know this is only a test, but yeah, either way, I'd like to like learn as I go. If I keep losing or I get stuck or I'm just completely useless, and sometimes it's good to see someone else's video to get tips to improve. But yeah, generally speaking, it's best to find your own way if you can. Karma. Interesting name for a weapon. So, what's the difference between these? Are laser. Oh, I see. These are kinetic weapons. Explosive. Okay. So, just like the ship weapon, there's some laser and there's some that actually have physical rounds. Okay. I see fire mode, burst, automatic, semi-automatic. At the moment, I'm not too bothered, so I will leave those for a future time. Okay. I've upgraded my suit. How do I buy power packs? That's one thing I do need more of when I've been on EVAs, on planetary surfaces. There's only a limited amount of time you can actually spend within the suit because of that. Let's interact with this person again. Let's see what they have to say. I am looking for consumables. Oh, I see. Now we have. It's okay. So, it's the energy cell that I think I was looking for. How many energy cells shall I buy? This is a good question. I will buy 10 because I don't know how... Let's buy 15 actually. They seem to be fairly cheap, so... let's buy a bunch of them. Actually, let's buy 40. They seem to run out relatively quickly, so... Okay. A med kit. Yeah, it's always a good idea to have one of those. Again, seems cheap, so I'll buy a few of those. I'm going to assume that just tops up your physical health when you're out and about in the unlock suit. Or whatever the manufacturer may be. Shield protector, shield disruptor, e-breach. That sounds painful. It really does. Ooh, we've got a bit of an e-breach here in accident and emergency. Sounds a bit morbid, I know, but anything that sounds like a breach, like, yeah, sounds a bit... Yeah, sounds a bit dodgy. Okay, I'll look around elsewhere here. But on the promenade, yeah, you could call it the promenade, I suppose. I mean, those who are fans of Star Trek Deep Space Nine will recognise the term. Obviously, a promenade is not something unique to Star Trek, but obviously on Deep Space Nine, it was like the main sort of area, public area on the station was called the promenade. Okay, this is the bar. Vista Genomics. I won't be volunteering for any sort of missions on Frontline at the moment. Now, instead, I am more intrigued about this place. Let's go talk to this guy over here. This cheeky chappy. Hello, sir. What can I do you for? I am indeed interested in these services. A ship salesperson. So in the future, there are still second-hand car salesmen. I mean, second-hand ship salesmen. Okay, purchase ships, manage your ship. See, it says ships owned 0, but I have apparently 2 ships at the moment, like that Sidewinder and the Cobra. So, yeah, a little bit of a bug there. I don't expect I can actually buy any of these other ones, but actually can buy a hauler or an adder, it seems, or an eagle. Ooh, goody, the Cobra Mark 4 still available. Haha. Yeah. I was making it generally available in Odyssey, because originally there are people who bought I think it was Elite Dangerous. Was it the original or Horizon? I think people bought Horizons actually, pre-launch, pre-order. I definitely did, so that's how I got it. But I think it was for that anyway. Actually, maybe I'll buy a Cobra Mark 4 for old times. Like, I haven't got much money at the moment, so I can't really buy that, can I? Got the usual range of ships. Just to see which ones are available for this test. Most of them aren't available. It seems like the biggest ship you can get under the existing test is a Type 7, which is a good ship, you know. It's usually a stepping stone to other ships, but I've seen people turn them into explorers, though. And it worked pretty well. Yeah, cool. Fair enough. Manage my ships, even though apparently I don't have any other ships according to this. No, I do. The old classic Sidewinder. Multi-crew incompatible. But that's the point. It is like really is analogous to a scooter, but in space. Because you can't really get someone else on a scooter. Well, you can technically if they're quite a small person, I suppose, or if you're really laden the scooter down. But it's like it's really uncomfortable trying to ride with 2 people on a scooter. I mean, a regular motorbike, yeah, it's a bit better because they're kind of designed more for that. But you know, and a scooter is like seriously. But anyway, again, it says like fighter incompatible, multi-crew incompatible. But this is the thing with the Cobra Mark 3, you've got the second seat, so you want to multi-crew somebody else in, you can do that. Which is wonderful. Okay, I'll leave that for now. I mean, this section of the game, I say it's not running very smoothly, but at least it does seem to be functional now, which is more than I can say if it was previously. And some of the details are strangely low res, which is unfortunate. Obviously, I've seen people with a lot better systems than me looking at sort of very, very smooth, but But that just goes to show how much a difference, especially a top-end graphics card, can make. Obviously, Elite being very sort of GPU-orientated kind of game. I think I will go down to the lower level to see what's going on down there. I might take an Apex shuttle ride somewhere, but the thing is, they are very much like sort of the Uber of the frontier, because they always seem to be just adders. It's like, but it's nothing else. I mean, there's no variation, like maybe like a a hauler or a Cobra or whatever, you know. So it's like, really? It's like so unimaginative. Okay, I go down these stairs here. I think that's the way I came up. Yeah, talking about FPS games, actually, I'm feeling a bit of an urge to like play one of the Quake games. I might actually stream that. That sounds fun. Other than alternative things I might stream, apart from obviously very social Elite, it's I do the Tenants at the moment, which is a fun game, but you know, it's thinking of other things sort of beyond that. Maybe play an RPG of some kind. Maybe an FPS game, possibly too. I don't know. Let's have a look at the machines over here and see what they have to say for themselves. Interrogate the computer. Yeah, see, look, they're breaking up of the graphics here. It doesn't look great, you know. Okay. And hello to anyone who's just joined the stream. I am Commander Yannick, and this is test piloting in the world of Elite Dangerous Odyssey Alpha. And we're on a space station. And I'm supposed to be, like I said, getting into the computer. Now it's actually turned on, finally. It's basically the same, well, very similar setup to what I was using inside the cockpit of the Cobra a few minutes ago. Yeah, it's not really much of a variation on that. I'll click on the mission board here to see what's going on. Yeah, it's a typical standard interface, or variation on the theme kind of interface, really, that you're used to in Horizons. Yeah, let's look to all. I'm not actually going to take any of these missions. I'll just see what's going on. Massacre missions. They're very subtle, aren't they? Massacre missions. Sometimes there's a euphemism, but there's no euphemisms here. None whatsoever. It is kind of funny. Sometimes euphemisms can be funnier than direct words because it's the language, and people often use very flowery language, or sometimes not flowery language, but it's still sort of obvious what they're saying, but they're just not saying the words like massacre or murder or homicide or anything that's like directly connected with violence and killing. So yeah, theft. Well, again, at least it's honest, I suppose. Assassinate again. It's like, and this is on the public kind of bulletin board, is it? Interesting. And sabotage as well. 10 out of 10 for honesty, 1 out of 10 for good thinking. Digital espionage, eh? Yeah, most of these make sense. It's the kind of missions I'd expect them to have. Yeah. It's not bad. I won't try any missions just yet, to be honest. Considering what happened to the last one, I took a planetary sort of courier mission, and the base didn't even recognise that I'd got a mission. It's like just no recognition at all. It's like, well, that was worth it, wasn't it? Come on, I want to exit. Please let me go. So edit loadout. Actually, hold on 1 second. Oh, you mean my suit loadout? Yeah. Ah, okay, fair enough. I will do that. See what it has to say for itself. Default loadout. Profile analyzer. Okay. Secondary weapon is empty. Yeah, I suppose if I've got various weapons and things, it makes sense, but at the moment I don't have anything like that, so it's I'm not too bothered. I may change that in future, though. I think I'll exit this. Yeah, so look at that pixelation. It's like, it's a bit... This is not even low settings, this is the thing. It's just, that's a bit crude, isn't it? Unless I did change it to low settings. I'm trying to remember what I did. I did fiddle around a little bit with graphics card settings in in this after the time before last I was playing. I don't think I made radical change. Most things are on medium at the moment for this. Yeah, the layout of the stations are all pretty similar. They're not all the same, though, that's the thing. They're not identical, which is good. But obviously there is a sort of certain familiarity. It would be nice if there were, like, certain unique portions, or, like, you know, they were procedurally generated, you know, like you'd have, like, various sort of, like, random shops and things selling all kinds of, you know, goodies. That would definitely be a welcome change. Just make it seem a bit more kind of realistic as well. It's like a waiting area. Oh, there's that guy, you know, I can't remember his name, who people are making memes out of all the time. I'll leave him be. I have no desire to mess with him at the moment. Maybe in future I will. Ah, the landing bay. The docking bay. Huh. Now that's interesting. You look up and there's a ship attached to the ceiling because of centrifugal force. Ha! Nice. It's a natural perspective though, isn't it? It's very weird because obviously it messes with your natural sense of perspective. Because on a planetary surface, or in most science fiction with artificial gravity, obviously everything's on the same plane. Not that someone's above you, but you're effectively stuck to the ceiling from your perspective anyway. Yes, I don't wish to talk to this lady. I just wish to have a good look at the rest of the bay. Sitting on the dock of the bay, maybe? What's this over here on the right? What are these things? Can I interact with them? Or are they just there for show? No, I don't think I can interact with them. Okay, fair play. So it's the agricultural system, this, isn't it? Yeah, I thought it was. Ooh, I can see spacecraft coming in. That was nice. Again, like, the frame rate could definitely be better. It's not good. That's not good at all. I say my machine, it's not the fastest, but it's not that bad either, as you can see when I'm flying through space, or much of the terrain when I'm flying across worlds as well. It's not the best, but it's not appalling either. That's why it surprises me with the station. It's like, you know, it could be better, definitely. I mean, for gameplay usage, yeah, fair enough. I understand why. Let's go to the bartender and see what he has to say. Dear sir, do you have any cyanide? It's like, no, we do not serve that here. Okay, looking to make a trade. At the moment, I am actually not bothered about any of these things. I just wanted to see what his reaction was. He looks incredibly pale. I mean, unnaturally pale. Oh well. Not that I really care at the moment, but yeah, this is not like the greatest social scene here, is it? People, she's got an appalling posture. It's like you should really see a doctor about that. Vista Genomics. Let's go visit them and see what they have to say. I know I've got nothing to give to them, but see what it's like. Ah, they're doing a dance. Oh, that's the way it is around here. See, no one's dancing in the actual bar area, but here in Vista Genomics, there's a party going on. Yeah, these look kind of technical. That's the thing sometimes in various TV shows or films, even games. Certain things aren't supposed to actually make sense; they're just there to look technical. Like they do make sense, even though if you actually close it inspection, they don't make any sense at all. They're supposed to look good, to look cool, look like there's engineering gone into it. I like to sell my organic data, even though I don't have any. Striving to think they can about the cosmos? Yes, indeed. Well, maybe I do have organic data. No, I don't think I do, actually. No organic data detected. Okay. Fair enough. We'll gain that in due time. So that's why I got this sort of force field here. To keep the rooms sterile. Yes, that's what I assume it's about. What's that over there, then? This box. We can interact with it? Actually, that's on the other side of the wall. It's not the box at all. Peculiar dances on the spot. Not sure why. Should I get in a taxi and go somewhere? I could, but largely pointless. Prefer flying myself. I understand, particularly if you're, doing one of those frontline missions, and you have, you're being dropped off by a vulture or whatever for the mission, and that'll make a certain amount of sense. So you don't have to worry about flying somewhere; they'll just drop you off in an appropriate place, and then you can, be focused on the mission at hand. Now that does make sense. The taxi one is like, I suppose you want to get between two ships that you've got in different locations. And if it's cheaper than, let's say, getting a ship transfer, then it might make some sense. Especially if you've got like a really expensive ship. Like, transferring like a Corvette or a cutter anywhere is just insanely expensive. Even across the bubble, it costs millions. And was it the transfer between, like a cutter between Colonia and the bubble was like about the best part of $1 billion? It's like, I'm not going to spend that amount of money transferring a damn ship. Wonder what the longest distance a taxi would actually be able to take you in Odyssey. Would it be able to take you to Colonia? That's a good question. I mean, I'm going to assume it's going to be sort of just limited to the bubble and near bubble space. But if it's actually beyond the bubble, now that could get interesting. I mean, obviously, like the bubble to Colonia are the most obvious sort of routes. But who knows? I mean, there's many questions, I say, that still remain unanswered about the details of Odyssey and its future. But I say that in due time we'll no doubt find all these things out. Yeah. Funny thing is like the fact that Apex have only got these adders, by the looks of it, doesn't. I find it deeply unimpressive. I mean, I don't mind adders per se, but it's just, is that all you've got? Seriously, I mean, it's like, even if you have an Uber somewhere, wherever city or whatever taxi service that you're around, I mean, people usually have like more than one kind of car in it. It's just a bit weird. Unless they intend to, like, on launch actually have more than just an adder. But it's like, some people love the adder. I've never really been that impressed by it. It's alright, Obviously, it's a very sort of early game kind of ship, but at that kind of level, I think I preferred the Hauler, to be honest. That was more my thing. The Hauler was actually my first exploration ship, so I suppose I have more of an emotional sort of feel for that one than I do for the Adder. Yeah. The Adder is one of those ships that I tended to use like in demolition derbies because it's a cheap ship. But beyond that, not really. Yeah, I think I'm going to go back in my spacecraft and start flying around again. That makes the most sense. I've got my my power packs, my electrical supply. I can't go off there. I have to go back down the other way. Yeah, see, there's a slight delayed reaction as well in this. The movement is more fluid than it was, definitely, but still not ideal. Okay, I'm going to go back down to the hangar. Get in me old Cobra. Yeah, I think entitling the stream Void Adventure Goodness is probably a better idea than calling it Odyssey, because obviously at the beginning of the stream I had problems with actually getting it to work at all. Because, oh, come on, don't be silly, let me in. But yeah, it's because obviously the Frontier servers were shut down. Okay, let's try another turbo lift. Yes, I do want to go to the hangar. Thank you. Jensen Station. Just imagining what the bigger ships would be like. Because obviously this is not small, the Cobra Mark III, but it is small by the standards of Elite. Oh, I go in that way, don't I? I'm just thinking of where the SRV goes in, which would be that position. Board the ship. Yep. Yep, good. Excellent. Thank you. Like the Fuel Rat advert over there, that's pretty cool. The Fuel Rats are cool people, though. I've worked with and known many of them over the years. Great people, really are. Them and obviously the Hull Seals do provide a genuinely great service to the community in sealing obviously the hulls of ships that are damaged, repairing them, and obviously refueling stranded ships out in the black. Both do noble work. Right, next question is, where will I go from here? Back into the black, I think. Let's look at the galactic map. Work out the next leg of the trip will be. Obviously with this limited bubble, there's only so many places I can actually go, but trying to look to places that are interesting. Maybe not an agricultural place again, somewhere else. This system here. Confederacy, Colony, Titori Star. These other ones here, for instance. Confederacy. Actually, that one looks interesting. Yeah, let's go there. Okay, cool. Time to go. I think I'll wrap the stream up in the near future. For the next 5 minutes or so. I've at least come back to do what I wanted in terms of testing the SRV today and testing inside the station. The station still remains a bit underwhelming inside. The SRV, I thought that went well. The frame rate, say, was the only disappointing element to that. Other than that, I think it was genuinely a good test. Unfortunately, I think the frame rate, it wasn't great in my screen. I expect it might have been even worse actually on the stream, but there's not much I can do about that at the moment, I'm afraid. Yeah, I was going to say again, there's always all these things to do with the alpha. It's hoping for future optimization will improve things. I mean, the station has got to be massively optimized. It's hard to understand why it's so bad at the moment, but they definitely need a lot more work with the station interiors and how it sort of all resolves on machines that aren't really sort of, you know, top level ones, really. It's a couple of jumps away, I think, for this. Only one jump. Huh. Fair enough. Yeah. I think it's been pretty productive. I've quite enjoyed this, actually. I think I actually enjoyed the SRV running more than I thought I was going to, because a lot of people... I mean, there's been very mixed receptions to the new sort of SRV characteristics and the way they've changed the model. Some people really don't like it. A lot of people think it's fine. I don't mind it. It seems okay, actually. But say in next streams or next few streams, I will be looking, yeah, to definitely find some mountains and test this as best I can. I hope there are some nice mountain ranges somewhere within the 20 light year bubble. That would be great. But I think for future streams, say I will probably alternate between Horizons and Odyssey Alpha as long as the Alpha actually is still around. Obviously, we've yet to go through phases 3 and 4, which will bring new elements. I think phase 3 particularly is going to be expanding the little bubble to 50 light years. So that's all good. Yeah, as I say, I will be shutting this stream down the next few minutes. But if you're interested, yeah, I do these Frontier Elite Dangerous streams. Yeah, usually every Monday to Thursday, and then on Fridays I do the Tenants. But I think I might rotate the Tenants and another game potentially. I say maybe I would do something like Quake or Doom or other sorts of FPS games. Or I may do an RPG. I haven't quite decided on that yet, but the Tenants is a fun game. But yeah, some of the sort of classic RPGs I might do, or classic FPS games. I'll have a quick look at the system before I sign off. System map. Oh, that looks interesting. Oh, I was going to say it resolves better now. That looked kind of odd for a second, that gas giant. Yeah, there's a lot to be desired in terms of optimization here. Lots of things are very slow to load. Oh, that looks like a very high G world. Yeah, I will check on one of these definitely next time. Still. Right, thank you for everybody who's been in the chat, to everyone who's been in the stream today. Thank you, everything. If you do like what I do, please follow. If you really like what I do, please give a donation. It all helps to keep the channel alive and well. But thank you for your company. Thank you for everybody today who is here. And I will see you all in the near future. I say, fly safe if we can't play safe. Fly dangerously and recklessly as you can. See you out there, Commanders.